The last objective in this section, in your notes it says objective number 7. It was a typo I didn't catch. There is no, it should be no, objective number 6 and not 7, but we'll just, go with it. So it says 7 in the notes. So for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to now use what we know to solve rational equations. So far we just had expressions where we didn't have that equal sign. Now we do. So now we're actually going to get an answer for what we're doing. So for 7a, or what's really 6a, we want to solve the equation. We have 3 over x plus 6 plus 1 over x minus 2 equals 4 over x squared plus 4x minus 12. Okay, so there's a few different strategies for solving this. What I am going to talk about is the strategy we talked about before about getting rid of all of your fractions. Because everything is so much easier if you don't have to deal with adding, subtracting fractions. So what we're going to do is we are going to, since this is a addition problem, we're going to find the least common denominator, and we're going to multiply it to everything, just like we did when it was least common denominator was a just an integer. So let's factor everything in denominator. So these are already factored. So I'm just going to rewrite this one over here. So x squared plus 4x minus 12. Multiply to 12, add to 4. So 1 or subtract to 4. So 1 and 12 don't work. 2 and 6 does. So this would be a plus 6 and a minus 2. So if this sum is equal to 4 over that, so my least, before I do anything else, I need to figure out the domain, which is always helpful after you factor everything. So none of the fractions can have a denominator equal to 0. So for this one, x plus 6 can't be equal to 0, so x can't be negative 6. For this one, x can't be 2. For my answer here, can't be negative 6, which I already have, or positive 2, which I already have. So my domain can't be negative 6 or 2. Okay, now I can find the least common denominator. So everything from this fraction, so x plus 6, everything from this fraction that's missing, so an x minus 2, and my last one, I already have an x plus 6 and an x minus 2, so we already have the least common denominator up here, which is awesome. Okay, so to get rid of a fraction, or get rid of all fractions, I'm going to multiply each term by the least common denominator. So it's 3 times x plus 6 and multiplying by this. So essentially what it is I'm going to multiply the numerator by everything that's missing, everything that didn't have the denominator. So we already have an x plus 6, so I'm going to multiply the 3 by the x minus 2. Or really it's what we're doing before, but we're just ignoring the denominator. We're only looking at the numerators. So it was missing the x minus 2, so multiply that. This one is missing the x plus 6, so it's a 1 times x plus 6. And then over here, we already have the least common denominator. We don't have anything missing, so that is just going to be 4. So if we had done what we did in a previous objective, we would have had this over x plus 6, x minus 2, this over x plus 6, x minus 2, and this over x plus 6, x minus 2. So because they're all the same, we can kind of ignore them. So now I distribute and solve. So I have a 3x minus 6 plus x plus 6 equals 4. So 4x equals 4. So x would equal to 1. Now the last thing that we need to make sure of is we need to check this against the domain to make sure it is in fact in the domain and it is not one of our exclusions. So 1 is the domain, so our solution is x equals 1. Okay, 7b. We have 1 over x plus 1 equals 2 over x squared minus 1 over x minus 1. Okay, factoring everything. This one's already factored, so just rewriting this right side. X squared minus 1 is going to factor to x plus 1 and x minus 1. Minus 1 over x minus 1. So looking at domain, Looking at this first term, x can't be equal to -1. X can't be equal to -1. Looking at this one, it can't be -1 or +1. And this one is +1. So x can't be positive or -1, but it can be anything else. Okay, so finding the least common denominator. Starting with my first fraction, x plus 1. My second fraction, it's missing the x minus 1. My third one, it already has an x minus 1, so this is it. So multiply by 1 by what's missing. So I'm missing the x minus 1. And then multiply the 2 by what's missing, which is nothing, so it just becomes a 2. And multiply the 1 by what's missing, which is the x plus 1. So now solving for my x. So I have an x minus 1 equals a 2. So it should be the -1, so -x minus 1. Add x to both sides. Actually, I'm going to simplify both sides first. So I have 1 minus x. So add x to both sides, and I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and I get x equals 1. But notice that x can't be equal to -1, which means there is no solution here. So even though we got an answer for this, it's not in the domain, so there is actually no solution to this equation.